I have the latest installment of Ezekiel Kralen's story about the two little dogs. It's titled, They're My Angels. Ezekiel Kralen wrote. Email correspondence, July 8th, 2023. Subject, I had the dogs over last night, all in capital letters. Continued. 3. I decided then to take Flacco and Lucky for another walk and rest stop by Maury's, seeing as we've been parked here for almost 5 hours. A bit of an inconvenience since I first had to bring the box, comforter, and water bowl back hovel. But doggies were so patient and loving as usual, waiting outside for my return. It was no big deal. Soon after our return, I scooped out a generous hunk of my homemade halva stored in the fridge and dropped it into a paper cup, then filled another cup with unsweetened soy milk and brought it all downstairs, including a paper towel and a fork. This was my lunch. No muss, no fuss. I was only away from the hounds for a very brief time. As I was noshing away, some fellow stopped beside me, said, Here, handed me 2 $1 bills, then walked into Super Duper. Of course, I accepted it with a smile and said thanks. 4. Maybe 2 hours later, someone else approached me with a 5-spot, a young lady who I guess was lesbian, according to my gaydar, and her Dutch boy haircut. Her friendly smile lit up my world, but like the other person who gifted me with some cash, she didn't stay to chat, but moved on promptly. Sidebar, needless to say, Deke's not going to see those $7, let alone know about it. 5. The day had begun to cool down to the perfect temperature by the time a heavy-set older gentleman commented, Lovely pups you got there, in passing. I called back to him, Thanks. They're my angels. 6. Sometime after twilight, this young man stepped up to the doggies and, without asking, began to pet them while exclaiming how cute they are. Usually they'd bark up a tempest at a stranger's sudden outreach, and they did gaze up at him with curiosity, wondering who the fuck this person is, and appeared about to explode in fury, but he pulled back after only a few pats each, thus avoiding a Tasmanian devil whirlwind. The only thing that marred my marathon dog sitting was Scooter's appearance, though thank Glob he didn't actually come near me, which would have set the canines off into a barking spree, and he disappeared about 5 minutes later. I became aware of his presence, with his shrill whistle breaking the peace. It made me jump almost out of my skin. He was, of course, standing below Carlson's window, trying to get his attention, which usually doesn't work, and it didn't this time either. Then I heard him loudly muttering as he walked off about not getting his stuff back. He stopped by the low wooden divider between my front gate and Super Duper, leaned upon it with his forearms and stared in my direction, said something like, You used to be cool when I was blah, blah, blah. I really couldn't discern exactly what he was griping on about, but I sensed it was aimed toward yours truly. I simply ignored him by lowering my head and stroking Flacco, who by then had exited the box and plunked herself against my thigh. Scooter then turned round, advanced to the corner, and seated himself by the furthest outdoor table. Again he glared in my direction, mumbling whatever. A few minutes later he stood up to cross Market Street and catch the next streetcar. What a relief! I then brought down the doggo's unfinished meal, and they scarfed it up in seconds flat. My dinner was a humble feast of 2 slices of toasted raisin bread smeared with soft cream cheese and a fresh cup of English breakfast tea, a large box of which I purchased from Trader Joe's for a great price some weeks back. Quick and easy to fix, so I could return to the canines post-haste. It was around 8:30 by then. Just before that I fixed them their dinner. They ate heartily and licked the bowls clean. By this time I was really concerned about Deke's failure to show up after almost 7 hours. So thank Glob Richard entered stage left out of the blue, because I never expected anyone's help at any time. Once Richard took off for the second time, I began to deliberate upon having the hounds visit me, figuring since this is an emergency, the lawsuit was a nothing burger. There's no rule that says I can't sit 2 little angels now and then in a pet-friendly building, and they'd be perfectly quiet if I carried them upstairs one by one. I decided to give it a go. Besides which, I figured I could bring them to 33 Guff Street the next morning, which is where his tiny cabin resides. I'd provide them with dog food and walk them 3 times a day until Deke finally emerges from the unknown. It was ridiculous sitting in front of my building for so long, what with residents coming and going all the time, including a handful who despise yours truly to some degree, Cortez, our handsome young unofficial building manager, and Victor, our maintenance man of many years, stepped outside mid-afternoon to retrieve all 4 waste bins, now empty. The rightmost one just sat several feet from where I reclined with the pups. I wasn't sticking out like a sore thumb, Watson. I was a monument for the homeless, flipping the bird at all the haters. Not a position I care to be in, FYI. Not when the doggies are involved. At least they showed no animosity toward me, but politely acted like I was no bother or wasn't even present as they rolled each bumpy bin back inside. There was some fuss over a 5th bin, for which Cortez remarked, "This doesn't belong to our building. Doesn't even belong on this block." I kept my mouth shut, since I suspected Deke brought it here 2 nights ago, stuffed with a menagerie of broken appliances, plastic crap, and old stinky clothing. They wound up pushing it to the bus stop and left it there for San Francisco's spanking new sanitation and street department to deal with. That's his job, after all. Toward the end of my outdoor dog sitting, I noticed a new camera lens attached to the gate's overhang. See Pic 3. How many days it's been there, I don't know, but this is in addition to the lobby camera. That's when I realized, from where I sit with the dogs, the eye of Big Brother is on me nonstop, so I wondered, could Kevin or one of his simpering allies use these videos against me as someone creating a public nuisance or eyesore? Well, no way could I escape the eye of the beast or bring these mutts inside, with or without the new camera. Sidebar. Also noticed the square white object placed exactly where the eaves join, 12 feet above, also new, so I took a snapshot of it and posted it to Reddit's What Is This sub. Turns out it's an LED fixture that's supposed to light up when you reach the gate, but it doesn't whenever I stand beneath it. Maybe it's my vampirical heritage from my great-great-great-great-great fairy godmother's side. Sorry, godfather's side. I decided to bring Flacco upstairs first because she's more likely to bark upon watching me take her brother inside while abandoning her out there in the cold. To be continued.